Hey, you know what? I've got a great idea. Why don't we all tell a story together and act it out?
Oh, I like that idea. Good idea.
Back again from the murk and the mud, with the greater purpose, don't just do it because. Still I think it's funny, is it thirst or blood? I just watch out for water while the communion rust, and watch Mama Lloyd's brothers, I don't trust the stairs or the skies or these TV guys. Remember Moses couldn't even look Jehovah in the eyes. How could I just sit back and not say it, while Jim Baker sell him that one affidavit, while Peter Popoff tell him Jesus is Satan, while Pat Robertson still paying for the basement in hell? I mean where he's living now. These motherfuckers must really think they getting out. Oh, how naive can you be? I'ma tell you what you can't sell on TV, bitches. One hand on the book, tell it like it is. Tell it like it is. Tell it like it is. I've seen the very fabric torn to shreds. You ain't give a fuck about these kids. It's just biz. It's just biz. It's just biz. The books of Romans and James both claim you're ridiculous. Corrupt Christ's creed, y'all so conspicuous. The money makes moves and you move it too meticulous. There's more to the book than the book of Leviticus. What we have here is a pot kettle situation. False prophets, no taxes on the television station. He resisted temptation. Y'all put that retail price on salvation. Forgive an old man if he seemed too hostile, while shiesty psychos bukkake bomb the gospel, encourage dropping bombs on the lands of the apostles, then walk around talking about the devil hides fossils. You ain't saints, you sadists, I see it well. Repeat after me, there's no such thing as hell. Final fucking thought when I got you for the song. If your sign starts with God hates, then it's wrong. One hand on the book, tell it like it is. Tell it like it is. Tell it like it is. I've seen the very fabric torn to shreds. You ain't give a fuck about these kids. It's just biz. It's just biz. It's just biz. Father forgive them. They know what the fuck they do.
Hey, Reflections. I've been gone for a while, but now I'm back. I've been spreading myself really thin. I'm a Capricorn, so I'm a perfectionist. I have a crazy strong work ethic. I don't like to stop, and I think I can do everything by myself, which sometimes you just need a breather. So I've been learning to not do anything at all, which is great. But this month has been so crazy. This month, last month, launching my apparel line. It's actually selling, and I wanted to let you guys know I'm doing a giveaway, a t-shirt giveaway. So go to my Instagram at QuantumKitty with a K and pick the shirt you like, re-upload it, and yeah, you might be a winner. I figured I want to give back, and I've been doing really well, man. Not only like emotionally, but spiritually and mentally, and I've just been in a really good space. And also I got engaged recently, so much good is happening within my life, and I just want to share the love. So yeah, go to my Instagram for more details. Now, the reason why I played that music before is because our guest today is Touch AC, and I wanted to give you guys the vibe of Touch AC and his message, and that's why I decided to play False Prophets. I thought it was just fitting. Anyway, I didn't even edit this podcast. I didn't even listen to it. I don't know, I just had so much going on. I just literally, it's raw. I took it and I just threw it out there at you guys. So I'm trying to exercise unconditional love and compassion for myself. Even though that video was taken 5 to 6 months ago, I don't really agree with everything I have to say, and some of it kind of makes me cringe, but that's just me. I'm sorry if you don't like it. I hope you like it. I'm just judging myself all the time in like my words and what I say, and a lot of my beliefs and a lot of the things that I think sometimes change. So I like what Touch AC said. That's why I decided to upload it. He's just such a spiritual person, such a wonderful visionary producer of content, and just amazing. And that's why I decided to upload this, because of the love and the respect I have for this guest. Anyway, yeah, I hope you like it, and go check out his Bandcamp, go download his music, support creators. Thank you for my one Patreon subscriber and anybody that has donated or bought merch or anything like that. Thank you. Thank you. I'm uploading the content every single day, got a brand new podcast mic, all of that stuff, so I can just keep on giving quality content. Also, I have about 5 to 6 videos backed up, and they're all podcasts, and 2 solo videos that I want to bring to you guys. Anyway, enjoy the show. And I spend a lot of time with my dog and my art supplies and my crystals. Yeah, and my sage, and just chilling, reading and creating a lot of like visual stuff, a lot of paintings, a lot of grids. That's how I use my time, and it's just like when I have a partner that's like, he's social and he likes to go out, and I rather stay at home playing with my crystals and meditating. Like,
I feel it.
You know?
Yeah, I feel it. Your Instagram, actually, it's always super like, I don't. Yeah, well, there's like, for instance, like today I saw you had like these patterns, like almost like a mandala made with these crystals, like sort of like aligned somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that stuff is like, I see stuff like that and I'm like visually drawn to it. You know, I want to know what the meaning is, you know. I'm pretty ignorant about anything involving crystals because I've always been so like immediately just turned off by it, because it's always been like by obviously insincere people at like music festivals, you know, just being like, hey man, like, I got to give you this because this thing's properties are this. And it's like, this guy is like, maybe it seems as if he might have crapped his own pants and he's trying to enlighten me about like these crystals or whatever. So I would like to meet, or like to like actually absorb some knowledge about those from someone who actually means it, you know, and like knows what it is.
Yeah.
Because all the people that I've stumbled across who are like about the crystals seem to be like rodeo clowns a little bit, but that's just me in Louisville though, you know. And
yeah,
maybe
I don't know,
maybe I'm
like,
just being judgy because they probably are good people. I don't know.
They probably are, but I get the same. I understand exactly what you're talking about. So I was at the lake, and there's this like big rock, and like there's all these like young people there, you know what I mean, and we're just like drinking and like smoking weed and like doing our own thing, and there's this like guy that starts talking about DMT and how he's a shaman, and just like talking about crystals, and I'm just like
yeah, I'm a shaman, dude.
And I'm like,
let me show you something. Anytime somebody is like, oh, it's the worst.
That I don't like, and that was me very earlier on when I was in psychosis, but a few years down the line, which I think they probably are, like, hey, maybe they're just in the beginning phase.
Right, right.
You know?
And also, like, part of being someone who decides to voluntarily close yourself in, you have to accept all the levels of social interaction that sort of brings with it, which means that if you're going to leave everybody alone, then you also have to do that whenever you disagree vehemently with what someone might be doing or saying. You can't just be like, you know, just decide to rejoin society to bitch about things and then shut yourself back away in your apartment, you know, and just be like, oh, now I've yelled about my grief with everything, and I've aired my disapproval, and now I'll go back in my apartment and pretend like I don't have to participate. It's like, nobody wants that, you know. If you're going to be a loud voice in opposition, maybe bring something to the table or try to do something to affect some change. Don't just shut yourself off from everyone that you're condemning, you know?
Yeah.
Which is what I do, I guess, sometimes.
It's so easy to do it, though. No, but I do realize that there needs to be more of a, like, bonding or, like, connectedness between people, because everybody feels the same way. And I think we just have to start, I think, within our own circles, just either doing it psychically and like sending love, you know, and like meditating, like groups, like people could do that too, you know, like I've done that with like other, calling them like content creators, but like we've meditated on the full moon together, like for, you know, everything and like love and everyone, and like that was pretty cool. So like you could do that. You don't have to like go out and meet people. I mean, but eventually I think I kind of do. Like I see it within myself and I kind of push myself because I have that mentality. I have the exact same mentality you do. And it's why I like to be alone, and I like to do my art, and being dragged from my art is really annoying sometimes. And like when I'm at a party, I'm just like, I could do this, I could do that. And, like ideas are coming to me, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah. Especially when it comes to things in like magical type of activity, for lack of better words, you know, like I enjoy being like solo in those types of things, because I feel like those, like if you're gonna set aside a block of your time and really invest yourself in like something that you might consider behavior, it has to go like exactly a certain way to peak charge, you know, or like power, I guess. And the entire thing is like sort of a blueprint, or like if it's like, I guess, like, let's say like if I'm setting out to practice something like a magical type of ritual, I typically will delight in the fact that I'm doing it alone, I guess is what I mean. Like, and I'm not really into like the group things like that, or like, I would definitely take part in a group meditation for something like love. That sounds awesome, but I wouldn't want to participate in like a
ritual or anything like that
with like a group, because I feel like I'm just used to doing that sort of esoteric activity by myself. Maybe because I feel more empowered alone, or there's like this mentality of like, this is the way I'm going to launch myself from this apartment out into like that out there where the thing I want to happen is going to have to happen. Like my apartment feels sacred. I feel like this is the place where I do all of my, magical, practices, you know, whether it's meditation or tarot or keeping a journal of dreams you've had, or, you know, even making like, floral arrangements, you know, for certain times of the year. I'm really into that, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like magic is like uniquely you, and how you express that through your art, beauty, your environment, your pain, everything. So I understand that, and wanting to do it alone. I think it's just so weird and like personal, you know, and like uniquely you, that like you don't really want to share that with anyone.
Yeah, yeah. Although, you know, I think if I were like, I understand that like some of those things are not so involved. Like a small, like if I were part two involved, I would probably be okay with it. Like, meeting up for like a Skype session and like chanting or something would be chill. But like having to like wear, like if I were to have to wear robes like around someone, that would be like
weird. I
would just be wondering if I was being like if this was a prank the whole time, you know, like if like I was being fucked with by a bunch of like my close friends. I'd be waiting for somebody to like turn the lights on and be like, "You idiot! You know, this was all a giant joke. We had you dress up like this goat, you know, king or something with this weird robe and strange antler crown for nothing.
That would be kind of
say
weird.
hi on Snapchat, you know."
Yeah. On Snapchat.
But I do like. I have always been super drawn to anything that seems ritualistic in behavior, just like the aesthetic of it. I dig like fantasy novels, you know, movies, books, like quest metal songs about priests who pray to, you know, dead gods in the sea and shit. Like all these fantasy elements, they lend themselves so well when you're growing up, like so involved with things like, you know, Lord of the Rings or like Conan the Barbarian or Dungeons and Dragons and shit like that, like Led Zeppelin song type shit, where you're just, you know, you're so into fantasy vibes and like wizards and elves and enchanted forests and things like that, that when you start taking psychedelics, you might find yourself easily immersed in these type of like these, your mind starts to paint these pictures for you to like be your own hero inside of them, you know?
Yeah.
And
well, when I was,
it's a great feeling.
I don't know, I'm pretty sure you can relate, but when I was like a teenager, between 11 and like 17 were my peak. I loved witchcraft. I loved anything about paganism. I would do spells, and I would sneak Ouija boards into my house, and my mom would find them and grab them and throw them away.
Shout out to your mom. Cheers to you, Mom. You did a great. I mean, I've always been way too big of a pussy to play with a Ouija board. I've always been so scared, but I was raised in like Jesus land, and I was like very religious up until I was like 19 years old, probably. So I sort of joined the party a little bit late, I guess.
I definitely wouldn't play with a Ouija board now.
Takeaway I got from growing up in an ultra religious house was that like the only thing they got right was don't fuck with Ouija boards.
Yep.
Like, everything else they tried to tell me was like maybe they meant well or whatever, but and I mean, since I've become an adult and like looked back on my like Christian upbringing, I've done some like actual Bible study in like a different sense, and it's been much more fulfilling. I look at it as like a book about, it's like a very, very useful book that is a tool of like Western occultism, you know, in a sense, and not so much a way you can get people in small towns and rural, wherever the fuck, to give you their money and not have to really do much work besides read the same, you know, 20 verses each year or whatever. And that's what a lot of these cats in the Midwest where I grew up were doing. And it has, in my life, come full circle as like something that I appreciate again. But the way that it was distributed to me and like the people I grew up with, those dudes went about it the entire wrong way. And when I found like, I think I was like 19 or 20 when I started reading books about like Wicca, and I was like, oh God, this is awesome. And I was like so into it. And it just hit me one day that it was like the exact same thing, just like called something else, you know, just like literally like the names were just changed.
Yeah.
At the point it all made sense to where like you just end up having to, it's sort of like, I think about it like taking an elevator just straight up, and at each floor it stops and the door opens and there's this new version of the story, or like this new sort of way of looking at your reality. Some new glasses to put on and see it a little bit differently. You walk around for a minute, you get back on the elevator, you go up to the next floor, door opens, you see it in a new light. And just the more and more you explore, the more and more open understanding you are of the entire thing. And you can take the parts you like, you can disregard the parts you don't. And basically it's like the way you keep trying on new pants, you know, and you find the one you like, and you're just like, I know I'm killing these fucking jeans right now. Like, this is me. This is who I am. and there's no, it's not like a college recruit, you know, signing to a sports team or anything. You don't have, you're not signing up for some new faith or some new, you're not, I'm a Wiccan or I'm a Christian. It's like,
yeah, there's no labels.
All the things. Yes. You can just blend it all. And you don't have to you're not signing a contract. You're not,
That's
it's
exactly
easy to just
how I
pick
feel.
and choose, you know?
And when people ask me, they're just like, what are you? I'm like, nothing.
Oh, are you a nihilist? Are you a nihilist? Is that what you're saying?
I am, no, but like, I don't identify with a group. I just go at it alone, you know, and like have faith in the experience.
I truly, yeah, I think it's a lot more simple than people try to make it for everyone. But I also think that some people can easily take it to the next level and be like teachers, you know, and like have a bit of a different role, like the sort of people that are naturally able to, you know, make sense of the whole thing and like relay it in a way that makes sense to everyone, not just them, like put it in layman's terms, you know, to be, I guess, simple about it. Like there are some people who just have it figured out, you know, like some people who, like guru type people, I guess. And that's encouraging because like, I think a lot of people figure it out, but aren't able to articulate it, you know? And, I hope that I figure it out one day myself, but right now I feel just sort of thankful to have books that I can read and podcasts that I can listen to of people who might be a little bit further along on the journey. They can give me some advice. Because most cats just, you know, internalize. I think I might even do that a little bit.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I like to, everything that I experience, I like to share. You know, I like to share for the next person going through that experience. Because, like, when I started, I was seeing a whole bunch of shit that, like, I needed answers, and I didn't have any answers, and I didn't know what the fuck I was seeing, and I have a lot of people contacting me now, and they're like, what the fuck am I seeing? And I'm like, all right, now I can kind of guide you to, like, certain books to read, and, like, figure this shit out yourself, because I find with each deep understanding or, like, lesson, you know, that you have, it's just like it opens your mind so much more. Like, there has to be some deep understanding, awareness, and like experience to something to like actually make a concept more than just a concept, you know. And like that's why I like working with crystals now, because like, you know, on the outside, like they seem like, you know, everybody's using them now, but like there's really something to it, because like computers are made of crystals. We are crystals. And like when I sit with like 3 pounds of like quartz crystal around me and I'm like making my stuff, I feel the energy of it, you know. And now I'm like using shells as well. And holy shit, like when you actually hold them and like meditate with them, it's just, it's so deep, you know, that like you don't know why, but you're tapping into an element, you know, like that's what it is. And like you feel the shell. Like I have one that I just made for myself right here.
Oh my Lord. You should put that on a necklace. Wear it around. Seriously.
I meditate with this, and this is...
That's crazy. That's a shell?
It's a shell. It's an abalone shell.
I see.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I put some, like, crystals on it. And like,
that looks really cool.
Yeah, like, if you just hold this, like, and you meditate with this, it, like, opens up your chakras. like
Mm.
because of the iridescence in here. They're all the different colors. There's blue, there's pinks, there's royal purples, there's indigo, and it just like it aligns everything, and you can open up different chakras with this. Like there's different meditations you can use, and just holding it, like stuff like that, like I'm like super into. It makes me feel amazing, and like my lucid dreams become that much more. You could use this like and put sand in it. I was looking at videos, obviously, and like you could put sand so you don't burn the bottom of the shell, and you put a burner, and then you put more sand, and then you put sage and different herbs like rosemary, and you put that while you sleep, and it clears out your dreams. Yeah, and it like allows you to have deeper dreams. So like stuff like that I'm really into. My lucid dreams have become amazing. I want to hear some of your dreams. Like if you keep a dream journal, I'm not very good at that, but I should start. I feel like my videos are my dream journal.
I'm not really like much of an astral traveler as much as I wish that I were. I've had some dreams where they certainly felt real. And one of my friends was telling me today, one of my friends who is a bit psychedelic herself texted me and said, "Did you send me that link on email or text?" And I was like, "What the fuck?" So I texted her back and I was like, "What are you talking about?" And she was like, "I don't know if I dreamt this or not, but last night you said you were going to send me this link to my email." And I didn't see her that night. So it was like, this had to be a dream. But these are the types, like, she is an actual, like, plane traveler, you know. I have cool dreams every once in a while, and I make sure that I write those down. My dream journal is basically just filled with me in very either cool positions or totally helpless positions, you know. It's like I'll either have a superpower or I will be completely at the mercy of some, you know, impossible situation. Like suffocation in space is a big one. Zombies is a big one. You know, the classic walled in against an endless horde. I had my favorite dream that I ever had was where I was it was like a Spider-Man type superhero where you could fly around and like launch yourself using like this like string of whatever to launch into buildings and swing toward them. And it turned out that it was this like weapon that I could shoot at people and it would turn them inside out from the point where it hit them. It was the craziest thing. And that was the coolest dream I ever had. I would like fly around and shoot it at buildings and it would turn the buildings inside out, and at people, and it would like flip their bodies inside out, like just piles of guts everywhere or whatever. It was a really, really great dream. But that's my dream journal. I don't know if you really actually want to know about my dream journal because it's filled with the morbid and also the quite lame and dorky Star Trek scenarios, you know.
Yeah, no.
Sadly,
my dreams they go from me, you know, always when I'm like a little bit confident in my dreams, like they show me that there's so much more to learn, and I'm like not to be just confident just yet. I started remembering my dreams again after I stopped smoking weed for a while. And they were really, really rich and intense, and like they happen, but they've been happening every day recently. I would say my lucid space is active at least once or twice a week, at least. It's always with, sometimes I'm just doing whatever the hell I want to do and like having an awesome time. Sometimes I'm in helpless situations just like yourself. Sometimes I'm working out my fears. Like I was just talking about this in my other podcast with somebody, and I was working out my fear of heights. This fear of heights, I don't know why the hell. I have a lot of fears to work out, and one of them is heights. And I was astral projecting, and like I can astral project a lot, and I find myself in the funniest situations because I'm afraid of heights. So like if you're astral projecting, you're in the air, like you're not like down, you're like looking at an aerial view. So
so I have always wanted to astral project. Like, how do you astral project? Like, what would you do? What would you recommend to someone who was going to try to throw their consciousness across the ether?
I don't know what to okay, so this is what I do. It's been a meditation that I've done ever since I cracked open my third eye. And what I do is I look at the back of my eyelids, and they will form this like swirl of green and bluish purple, and they'll just swirl, and just look in the back of your eyelids and just zone out. Don't think, like literally turn off your brain and sit there. Don't go to sleep tired. I wouldn't do that. Go to sleep maybe an hour before, you know, just to meditate and look at the back of your eyelids and zone out. And do that and try to guide yourself to the hypnagogic stage. And then the visions will come clearly, you know, and that's where I like to stay until I turn off at some point and then just pop out of my body, or pop in a lucid dream and go from sequence to sequence, or stay in that dream, want to stay in that dream and like wake up and then pop back right into that dream. So that's what I meditate into sleep. That's what I would try to master, and just keep doing that until it just becomes easy, or it just becomes something that you can do. Now I'm at a level where I'm trying to, I said that once I was able to remember all of my dreams, you know, like I would be able to like be, you know, somewhat woke. But there was a situation where as soon as I thought that, I had a dream, and it was like switching out my brothers and sisters. And I should have known, like I should have been aware of that. I don't know why I was not aware of that. It was so plain to anyone, but for some reason I wasn't aware, or I wasn't awake to it. And I'm like, fuck, I still have so much like control that I can have, you know, like there's a lot more control you could build up to. So that's what it showed me. It was like, oh yeah, you think you know something? Like, you have a lot to learn.
Yeah, I feel you. I could use a lot more dream work, or like, you know, to focus a bit of my more like ritualistic or magical thinking in that direction, instead of so much trying to, you know, empower daily things. I'm not really sure. Like I haven't read my tarot in probably like a year, maybe, because I've just been like, I don't even want to deal with it. I don't want to like know, like, I feel like I'm aware of the situation. I don't know that I necessarily want the added pressure right now. And I'm not entirely sure if that's, maybe it's a good thing to know when you need to just like handle your business closer to home first before you start consulting, you know, your unconscious mind. Or maybe it's bad. Maybe I'm just being a coward. I'm not sure, but I just have a feeling that if I were to do that right now, it would add a level of extreme anxiety to my life. But then again, I have a bit of an itch, especially now that it's fall, and I'm really into the idea of autumn and like the harvest and sort of the symbolism of this time of year, not just, you know, with the weather, but just what it means actually, you know, like the death of summer, you know, the heralding of the season where everything dies, you know. Really enjoy that sort of like fall sort of feels like the town crier, you know, screaming like the end is near, and then winter comes and like the end actually happens, you know. So maybe I'm just feeling a bit magical right now because it's that time of year. It's my favorite time of year, but I'm thinking about cracking open the old tarot cards and seeing what happens. But fuck, I'm just a bit intimidated, you know.
Yeah, I
at this
feel
point.
you. Every single time I read my tarot card, I cringe a little bit because it's a lot to take in. It is accessing the subconscious, and
Yeah,
it's
for sure.
really deep, and it like really affects me. And then I have dreams about the devil card.
What's going on in the dream?
Oh my gosh.
Are you one of the people like chained to the devil?
It was the devil. Like it came, you know, and like the tarot card actually came up, and like that's happened a few times. Not a few times, but like different tarot and like different situations and different like pieces of information that you pick up while you're in that lucid space, or like entities that you'll meet, or like the archetypes, you know, and it just like teaches you so much. It terrifies you. For that dream in particular, my left side of my brain was on fire, and it had to like,
Oh man.
yeah, it had to shut down, and like it felt like death, like it was dying. So like a lot of my dreams are really fucking dark, you know, like that's why they're really hard to talk about, but they remind you of what's important, and they remind you, yeah, and they really humble you, so like you're in a bit of a state of shock and terror. And like I wake up from dreams crying sometimes. I wake up from dreams still fighting with the entity that I'm talking to, like mentally, you know, and trying to tell them to fuck off.
Wow.
Yeah, so yeah, they're not all fun. And it's funny, my partner, like he's also a lucid dreamer, and he started lucid dreaming a lot, and he's like, I don't like this.
That's the thing. That's the whole thing. Like, that's why, like, when I mentioned earlier that I was like 19 or 20, I was sort of like discovering Wicca, and like I was like learning about astral projection.
Yeah.
And my DJ, like one of my best friends, his name is Dr. Dundiff. He was like doing the same thing around the same time, or maybe just like a couple years later. But we've talked about this several times together. We got far enough to be terrified and then backed right out. Like I got far enough to get like real spooked and got out. Like I remember hearing things like in my house and stuff. Like there was like a period where I was living in Louisville by myself. Like my roommate was gone for a few months, and I was sort of fresh. We were new to town, and I was first getting into this stuff. And by this stuff, I mean lucid dreaming, astral projection, thanks to like reading a few shitty, corny Wicca books. But they opened me up to that, and I went into that, and I got so far along, not far enough, but like far enough to get really scared, and like backed out, because I started hearing things like I wasn't like fully awake or fully asleep some days. You know what I mean? Like I was like walking around in this like weird trance state because I had been like trying to alter my sleep patterns to like be more, to make me more susceptible to have a lucid dream when I was sleeping. Because like, you know, in these books, they're like, okay, you know, sleep for this amount of time. And then, you know, they try to get you to train yourself to do it. And I remember just being so zombified, you know, throughout my waking day that I thought I would hear like a cabinet slam or something, or like, you know, someone run down the stairs or something. And I would just, these are feelings that are like you know, things that you hear people say whenever they're getting freaked out. And it's usually just, in my case, it was sleep deprivation. I think it's freaked me out, but maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was actually like some exposure to the astral plane that literally just scared me and made me like run away. I don't know, but I got super freaked out, and I never really tried astral projection beyond that, you know, initial plunge into that world where I was just starting to get into it and got like scared, you know.
Do you know what it was that got you scared? Like, do you know
I think it was just the hearing, like the seeing things that weren't there, like hearing stuff that wasn't there, like in your daily life, you know.
See, like that doesn't really happen to me. What happens to me is like I will feel the shifts. Like I will feel like the clairaudient tones that will come in, and they'll come in either here or here. And like sometimes it'll hurt my ear, and it's not tinnitus or like any of that stuff, but you physically feel it and your like ear almost burns, and it's just like this deep frequency tone, and like you'll feel something, and like that happens. No hearing anything that's not really there. Other than that, like I'll have my astral experience. It's actually quite funny. Like it always has a sense of humor. Like I'm just like always like very like funny in my dreams for some reason. And I was having this astral projection experience where I was going to like different places just in one night. Like I was in India, I was in like Hungary, I was in like this part, I was in that part. Like, I was just going everywhere. Like I'm very active, and I have like, it's just like downloading experience after experience, and like you're just like going through this. And like I was in India, no, I was in the I was astral projecting with my partner, and like we're taking a picture like right next to the Andes, and like I don't know this place, I've never Googled this place, and we're there in the air taking a picture, and I'm thinking, oh, I'm gonna upload this to Instagram. I'm like, oh shit, I can't do that, I'm in a dream. And like I'm giggling to myself, and then I'm looking down, and I'm like, oh shit, I'm afraid of heights. And I'm like, but you know what, like I'm the astral me, I'm not me. And like it's just like really funny, and like it has a sense of humor sometimes, and I think that's why I feel comfortable with it. Like it's just like it has a sense of humor, but it's also very deep and profound. Sometimes I'm terrified, you know, of the experience that, like, when I got hacked in my lucid space, that shit was terrifying. Like, holy shit, I thought it was...
What do you mean? Well, first of all, like, imagine how crazy, how ascended you would have to be. So whenever you would be lucid dreaming or like astral projecting with your partner, and you were like, I'll put this on Instagram, and he'd be like, you can't do Instagram or astral projecting. And you'd be like, yes, I can. I'm so far advanced that I have the app to do it in the astral plane.
Right.
And you just upload it right there.
Right.
There's like astral Instagram where you're like that far advanced, and his mind is blown. But I want to hear about how do you get hacked? And so, first of all, when you say your lucid space, is this like, this is not a physical place, right? This is like a place, an extra dimensional place.
Yes,
somewhere
in your
like
mind somewhere.
In your subconscious, you walk or you go to that place. It's not like a place in this dimension.
No, it's definitely not here.
So when you say you get hacked, was it by another person or by like a being?
It felt like a multi-dimensional, interdimensional entity that was dressed like a hacker. It had his like basically like glasses and like had like this bandana thing so I couldn't see. He was like hacking my mind and like bullying me into like a state of like fear that like I put in my like code, and like it's this binary code that like everybody has, and like it just like hacked all of like everything, and like I woke up like in absolute fear, and like that experience was terrifying. It was definitely an astral attack. Like that shit was, they beat me to a pulp spiritually.
Have you ever heard of, I don't want to get too far into territory that would make people cringe, but that's wine in that glass, by the way, if anybody's curious.
Yeah.
That is wine in that glass.
That's wine.
You're like, it's wine in a great big cup. It's
yeah,
like,
it is a great big cup.
This is apple juice in a beer cup.
Apple juice in a beer cup. That's great.
No, it's Beal. But I was podcast today where these guys were talking about, you know, like different types of quote unquote aliens, if you're into that. And there's a group called the Archons. Have you heard about these guys? They latch on to you, and they sort of they invade your subconscious mind and sort of reroute your thinking and rewire your programming.
Yes.
Some people have sort of like theorized that maybe they're cyborgs in a sense, and sort of they exist in another dimension, but as sort of cyborg-like characters. And the thing that it reminded me of is like Cylons and Battlestar Galactica and DMT elves from the stories you hear about people tripping DMT, where these like sort of chaotic little, you know, shithead, mechanical, cyborg-esque beings, you know, fuck with you, and they tell you things to do about your life or like reveal things about yourself to you. And they're always sort of like pranksters or like tricksters, you know, or little like impish little
I've
trolls.
had multiple experiences with them, and they don't fuck around. They try to scare you.
Yeah. So I'm wondering, when you said about your guy who's like a hacker, you know, I was just, my first thing was like, oh, well, that might have been an Archon or a DMT elf that was like sort of putting on this, making you see him in this way that where you would know exactly what his intentions were, because your mind, when it thinks about a hacker or like somebody up to something shady, you think about like a tall overcoat with a pulled down hat and like the, you know, like a burglar or something, you know. And so he's appearing to you in that way, letting you know that yes, he is there to or it is there to just really rip apart your motherboard for a little bit, you know, and like really just throw all the circuitry around.
There are some times where like you definitely have that, but like that's once in a blue moon. I mean, that doesn't happen to me more than at least once a year. Like I would say it's not constant, thankfully, but you do have a lot of experiences where you're dealing with friends, like you're dealing with entities, you're dealing with like, you don't know, it's all an illusion. That's the first thing, you know, and that's what, it's all the imagination as well, you know, like what are you dealing with in your dream space? You know, you have to really ask yourself that. And yeah, sometimes it terrifies me, but it's also curiosity. You know, curiosity. What can I do? What can I pick up psychically? Because there's a lot you can do. Like you can dream of a person and that person will call you the very next day.
Yeah,
you know, just
for
like
sure.
That.
Yeah.
And like that's happened to me like recently where I've dialed somebody in their head and they, you know, called me or messaged me, and I'm like, wow, you know, like we're entangled, and the psychic phenomena is real when I can predict certain things within my own life, you know what I mean? Like it happens like locally with me where I can like, my grandmother is psychic as well. Like she knows before anyone else that something's happening, and she'll always message me this weird thing, and I'm like, what are you talking about? But I'm like, don't be condescending. You're just like this as well.
Yeah, that's I've always sort of like, I love the archetype of like the grandmother who can see beyond the veil, you know, like I've always seen that in comics and like books and things like that. And that makes me wish that I had some sort of like, in tune grandmother, you know, who like had it all figured out. But
well, she doesn't have it all figured out, but she is like my little soul buddy. That
I got you. She tapped in, you know, to
yeah,
the.
She's tapped in, and we're definitely psychically connected because we're just very similar, even how we look. But she's also like, she's just like everybody else. She's human, and she has, you know, certain things that she has to figure out, as do we all. But it's really cool to like have that experience. Like, I might not have a lot of people around me that are very similar, but her being one of them is really cool. She's always told me, don't talk about your lucid dreams. Don't talk about your, you know, don't talk about this stuff. But I just...
Why does she think you should not talk about it?
Because it happens to her as well, and she was always told not to talk about it.
I was going to say, I feel like that's sort of something that is, they tell you, like, you know, oh, don't talk about your tarot readings, or like the institution day, you know, or like don't tell people about your dreams because you don't want to give up any of your power and that type of thing. And I wondered if it was that, you know, if she thought that.
She always, well, no, she just didn't want people to think that I was crazy. Like,
oh, she's just watching your back then.
Yeah. She's just like, people will think you're crazy. So don't do that. And I'm just like, it doesn't matter. Like, I am the way I am, and that's okay. Like, it's a different time period. Like, you know, we're in 2018, not 1960.
Yeah, and I think people, if you're the type of person who does something to where people are going to think you're crazy, then chances are that just if you don't talk about that thing, then you're going to talk about something else you do that they're going to think is crazy. You know, I mean, it's just, they're going to find some reason to think that you're crazy if you're an anomaly in the, you know, status quo or whatever.
And that's what I like to say that I am. Like, it's just like this weird person that wears sacred geometry and meditates a lot and lucid dreams. Like, that's what I like. I've come here to like learn some like I've chosen to do this. Like, I had the dark night of the soul. My experience completely flopped on its head, you know, and I chose to have this experience with the mind. And it all started with my last DMT experience, where it's my vision changed. Like, in the DMT trip, like, it changed. And like, when I came back, it changed. And I had this migraine for like 3 weeks, and I couldn't even draw the blinds or anything. And it was just like my pineal gland just like fucking throbbing. And like having
Did you take like an excessively high amount or something?
Well, not that time, but the first time I did, I took a gram of DMT and I was just smoking, and I didn't even measure it. I was just dumping it in there. And you know, when it's ignorance that like lets you go into there, you know, like that, without even understanding or knowing what the fuck you're doing or what you're accessing, you know. And I was just completely blind and ignorant and stupid, and like took this obscene amount and just like found myself in the middle of pure chaos and beauty and magic. And, you know, I was initiated into this very occult thing in the mind. And like, you see the Kabbalistic tree of life, like you see it, you pop out of your body, and like it's this thing that happens, and you're just like, whoa, like I thought I was just gonna be seeing some DMT elves, like, you know, like Terrence McKenna said, but that's not what happened to me. You know, when I got really deep in it, it was like the Matrix, you know, that's what it was. And like being plugged out of the Matrix, it wasn't like DMT elves and like geometry. It went way past that. And that's when I got scared of DMT and like walked away.
Yeah. It's like, I watch a lot of Star Trek, and they're sort of flying through space at warp speeds a lot in these shows. And once you get down, once you've delved into like the very fabric of the universe, like the space-time continuum, once you've plunged your mind down into the very like, circulatory system of the universe, where you can see that this thing is all extremely vast and expansive, suffocate is a I don't want to sound morbid, but like there's a level when you get to the very core of everything that is just sort of, it's a shared sense of communal nothingness, in my opinion, you know, where it's like completely, it's like a hollow sphere, you know, it's just completely weightless, but also immensely, inexplicably heavy. It's so difficult to go back to that spot.
That's why I like to have my YouTube videos and my shitty TV sometimes and just ground myself right back down to reality, because I go way up there, and it's, you know, when you're there, it's really terrifying, and you just have to ground yourself back. So that's what I do a lot. That's why I do a lot of meditation, because my dreams are, they're very, they can get really out there. You know, when you see like mantids.
Oh my Lord.
Once you see the mantids, you've gone out there. Like,
I don't want to see the mantids. I have a feeling that I would be too much of a, I'd be combative right out the gate, you know, just because of comics and sci-fi books and everything. I'm just like, no, I refuse to cooperate with mantids.
But the thing is, they come with so much spiritual power, like, like very like calming. Like, you don't feel like reacting. You're just like, mantids. What the fuck? And it was like microwaves, like black and white, and like them right in it, and like DMT space, and like you're like turning the dials into like different frequencies and seeing like different things, and it's just like, what? But like, I've had experience with it. Like, that's how I know, like, I'm out there.
Well, and you know, I think I think it's good to go out there as long as you don't lose your sense of being able to articulate and your sense of relatability to people who are quote unquote normies or whatever, you know. That's
hard, but you know, I tried to just, hey, we're all humans having this, you know, experience, and we all need to be, I learned this from a friend that was absolutely brilliant, and he was an occultist as well. And he was a physicist, and he was a therapist, and he was just one of those people that was just brilliant and smart, and had the, you know, like, if anybody was a hermit and like antisocial, I would thank him, because of the brilliance that needs to, like, you need to be in complete solitude. And he's just like, no. He was like the sweetest person, and all he wanted to do was like connect with people and hear their story, and like, that's it, and just hear them. And I'm like, of course he would be able to connect with everybody. Like, you know, when you have that perception of, you know, the human interaction and experience, and all you want to do is sit there and hold space for one another and like hear each other and like honor their experience. Like, who wouldn't love that?
Yeah. The dude that like sort of runs, I play World of Warcraft, and inside of that game, there's like, you can join groups called guilds, where like bands that sort of like hang out together, and you all do the hard stuff together. You're like a big team, and each guild has like a leader, like a guy who's like the leader. He orchestrates all the events and stuff. And our leader is like that. He's the type of dude who, he seems very enlightened. He'll sit there and like just listen to people all night and just offer new perspectives and just sort of like blow people's minds. He's very like sort of zen, and seems a bit tapped into some, you know, sense of authority that seems like you would have to work really hard to develop, yet he is so relaxed that there's no way it could be so strict, you know. It's odd when you can meet humans who are just down to listen instead of always having to like paint a narrative or like project some agenda, you know.
Yeah.
And he sounds like my WoW guildmate, or the, you know, I know several people like that actually, who are just like really down to just pay attention instead of, you know, just play conversational tennis or whatever, you know. So stupid.
Yeah, that's who I learned it from, and I'm just like, I want to be like you. Like that, just like that's exactly what it clicked in my head. And I'm like, you can have everything. You can be brilliant. You can be wonderful. You can be kind, and you can just be that person that somebody can resonate with and just vibe. So, yeah. I like that.
So, like, how long would you say you've been, like, actually reading, like, tarot, for instance? Like, how long have you been?
Maybe I'd say my friend actually got me into it. I've known her since I was, like, 15 years old. I was in, actually 13, sorry. And I was in 9th grade. I was 13. She had a tarot deck. She brought it along, and she read me my tarot, and that's when I really got into it, you know. And I'm actually making a tarot deck now. It's a long process, because with every tarot card, you learn so much, you know.
Yeah, I cannot imagine that type of responsibility. Each card is like a universe, you know. It's crazy.
And you understand, and it's just so much deeper. And you really just start to, like, especially the major arcana, like, I started with that first, because, like, I knew I was going to have some dreams, and I knew I was going to have some deeper perception, but you can always learn more and more and more. And, like, I'll be thinking of a dream, like, 2 years, 3 years from now, like, 2 years, my double dream, and I'm still talking about that one, you know? Like, my hangman dream, and I'm still thinking about that right now, and it's just, like, you can just reflect and just figure out so much more about that devil card. It's all about enslavement, mental enslavement, bondage, you know, and it just like so many layers upon layers.
It's the worst. It's the worst one. It's like, well, in terms of, you know, it's the one I don't want to see flipped most of the time, because it's people assume it would be death, but it's not death. You know, it's not death. Death is good. Death is good. But like, the devil is, it always scares me.
Yeah. It's like, it's, for me at least, I got that when I had the dark night of the soul, and like everything was changing, and my perception of everything was changing. My perception of myself, what I was doing at the time, it just like clicked, and I had a lot to heal, you know. I had a lot to heal at that time. A lot of healing that I didn't know that would occur. And it taught me a lot. Like astral projection taught me really a lot as well, because like in my hypnagogic states as well, I will have projections. Like I will see things as these like holographic projections of things. And one thing that I have learned about projection and like image projection and like projecting who you are is that it all starts up here, you know, and what your daily life consists of, your programming, what you are at the very core, how you believe people perceive you, your perceptions of yourself. Like it's really deeply encoded. And at one point I was starting my life, you know, in a new thing, and I was like starting something new, and I could see, you know, visions at that time in hypnagogic states. So I would meditate and like I would see something, and it just so happened to be a projection of myself and what I was trying to project within the world and what change I wanted and how I wanted people to see me. And it was this like very glamorous, you know, like how like normal type of person, the way they would want to be perceived, you know. And then I had the very same projection experience a year and a half later, and it was this like somber girl with like bare-faced and like really gone through some shit, you know. And like I'm like, yeah, that's it, like I'm getting somewhere finally, you know. And like you see, and then like I have another projection of me like now, like in like just like my YouTube video, and like you're just seeing the progression of your consciousness, like within these projections of you, however you're trying to view yourself as, whatever you're trying to view yourself as, like you can create that. And that's really like it gets really into the mind, and it's like really creepy how like you can change yourself for how you want people to, you know, react to you. Like if you want a lot of attention, or if, you know, you want to be like, I was like, I wanted to be normal, like all I wanted to do was fit in, so like I did everything possible, you know, to try to like fit into like whatever I was supposed to be, but like I couldn't. So after a while I'm just like, okay, I need to like start from the ground up and figure out who I am. Yeah. What is your experience with that?
Well, I definitely think that it's a pretty intimidating form of alchemy to try to take control of who you are as an individual, much less like try to influence the way that people perceive you, you know, or like you say, like react to you. I do know that it's possible to do it, but like I've always been so, I feel like each time that I've thought that I've known myself, I've really only cracked the surface, in the sense of like, I only tend to go on those like very deep self-explorative journeys whenever I'm feeling somewhat listless, or like maybe experiencing writer's block, or like stagnation, or feeling no longer productive, or like there's no forward motion. So what I'll do is I'll go inside and try to truly get a hold of how, not only how I see myself, but the way that maybe other people might see me. And it's extremely tough to do. It's extremely tough to do. I'm not sure what my stance, I mean, I'm still trying to figure out if I get lost in these, some of these suggestions by some of these smarter people than me that might suggest that there's not even a self to know, man. Like, you know, like,
that's what I'm saying. It's just this holographic projection.
It's honestly, that's it. Yeah. It's sometimes I do feel that way, I guess, but other times it seems so authentic to where I feel like this what I'm experiencing has to be reality. It has to be, because it's so infallible. But then I'll go to a simultaneous but alternate reality, you know.
But what do you think
Whether
about
it be
like
through, like
synchronicity, like when that happens, and like psychic stuff that happens, like once that start happening, like what do you think of that? Like, doesn't that, like, that throws me off?
It always really trips me up, for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know. It always throws a wrench in everything that I think I have. Everything I've postulated and put forth becomes completely thrown out the window. You know, every time there's like a synchronicity or like a magical ritual that has its intended effect work, you know, whether it be like when I was a kid, it was what I would have called God answering prayer, you know, and as an adult, I might call like a magical ritual coming to fruition.
Yeah.
Or like a chaos magic sigil that I had charged or something, you know, but there's always the skeptic in the back of my mind that's like, it's just chance, man. There's 7 billion of you around, and on some other dimension, you know, it didn't work out.
I do that all the time. I do that all the time. Whenever like something super synchronistic happens, I'm like, it's just coincidence. It's just coincidence. It can't be. Like
the power of denial is very strong. I think that's when I was talking earlier about how when I was lucid dreaming or trying to lucid dream and astral project, and I got just far enough to where I began to get freaked out and started hearing things and seeing things. The power of denial that I was able to exercise at that point in my life, I'm glad I was able to do it, because I know I was hearing things. Like, you know, you don't hear shit like that and think, oh, that didn't happen. But I just told myself, you know, okay, it didn't happen. Yeah. And it reminds me of when I was a kid, the guys I played D&D with, my friend JB, he was this like dude from high school, super cool guy. He's doing well now, whatever, still alive, still kicking. And we played D&D over at his house, and he would always tell us it was haunted. And we were sitting there, you know, one day, and this milk carton was on top of his refrigerator, and it just like flew like off of the refrigerator, sort of flipped and hit the ground. None of us we were sitting there in the kitchen playing D&D or whatever, and it happens, and we're like very freaked out. And he goes, "Did you guys see that?" And we're like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Good, because I didn't." And like, that's the power of denial. Like, this is a kid who lived in that house all the time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
and he had to
tell himself all the time
that it's not happening.
I didn't see shit. And it just, we're sitting there playing a game where you use your imagination and you role play these characters that are not you. And at the same time, this very visible presence that is not any of you at the table in the room manifests itself, and you're all, okay, shut your imagination off. We didn't see that. You know, let's keep fantasizing about our characters and not about what's actually happening.
Yeah.
How you can exercise the creative part of your mind and also turn it off in the same moment is very weird. But being creative and making art is something that is like a natural euphoria.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely. I feel the same way about art. It is like well, a lot of it's channeled as well. Like, it's definitely flowing from somewhere else, because my grids, like, I had a vision about that first. And then I started making them, and I'm like, really? Like, asking myself, and like, I had another vision and another one, and it was always the flower of life with crystals, like, swinging in the wind, like, hanging off of gold metal wire or whatever metal wire, and I knew, like, that's what I had to do. Like, really?
I think art, like art is like like when you create a piece of art that you stand beside, it's like a natural dopamine. You know, obviously it's a spiritual dopamine in a certain sense. You know, it's the same sort of gratification that I got when I was a kid, when I would get the Holy Ghost or whatever. You know, like there's this feeling of just complete surrender to the universe, where you acknowledge that you're a conduit and nothing more. You know, and that you sort of allow yourself to be a gateway that something uses to pass from one plane to another. And you're sort of a connector or a bridge that sort of allows this thing to enter into this dimension and manifest itself, whether it's a song or a painting or a piece of literature or whatever, like a novel, whatever. I truly think that there are people who are able to pull pieces of inspiration, I guess, from like other dimensions, process them here, shoot them out here, and manifest them in our present dimension. People like fucking, J.R.R. Tolkien, Michael Jackson, just people that were particularly paragons at what they did, or still do. Aesop Rock, Duncan Trussell, there are a million of them. Yuzuru Hanyu,
I love figure skating.
People are.
I always wanted to be a skater when I was a kid, but I was too terrified. Like, I was that kid terrified of everything.
I've only done it once. I did it like a month ago.
I did it before, and I always used to fall or hold. Hold on to like the sides and just like keep on going like on the sides, just holding.
Yeah.
But I always wanted to like just dance on ice. It's the coolest thing in the world, and you could basically pick your own music. You could pick your own costume, do your own hair and makeup, and just like be amazing on the ice. Like what?
Total self-expression.
Exactly.
Yuzuru Hanyu is the Michael Jackson of figure skating. They're shaped similarly. They have similar interest in just the right amount of flamboyance. Also, this tinge of like androgynous toughness, but also sensitivity. Very, very in control of their elements. Never looking out of place. He's the master. He's like legitimately the master. Watching him figure skate is like watching, Gandalf blast a lightning bolt at an orc. It's supposed to, it looks amazing,
Yeah.
Although I guess Gandalf was more of a blast sunshine at orcs kind of guy, but to each his own. I really only got into figure skating because of Hanyu. Like, I never really knew about it before that. So I'm still kind of a
diehard fan. I watched all of my 90s. All of the 90s was in figure skating.
Yeah, that was, I remember it being on all the time, but I just never.
That was my favorite thing. Like, that was the only sport that I would watch, and it was only because of the dresses and the skating. I like American football, like the Pittsburgh Steelers a lot, and then I like soccer, like international football. I like Croatia. It's my team. They went to the World Cup this last World Cup, which was really awesome. First time they'd ever done that in the finals. And I like in terms of major league teams, I like Real Madrid and Liverpool. But those are all my sports shout outs. I don't care about anybody else. I like 4 teams, basically. My cat is being extremely rambunctious right now, by the way. Like, she's like running around, trying to attack my feet. Yeah, my dog is out going on a walk in the woods. So,
that's really nice.
Yeah.
What a great day for that. I mean, I don't know. Where are you?
I live in New Jersey.
Okay.
Yeah. I moved here 2 years ago from New York City. And
I thought you were in Philadelphia for some reason.
Oh, I could see that. No, I'm originally from New York, born, raised there. Well, I actually went to South Florida as well. It was in Plantation. It was in Miami, South Florida, there for like, say 10 years maybe. And then I came back here. Well, I came back to New York, and then I moved to New Jersey because it has nice open land. And I could be away. Like, New York, it's too much. Even going to New York, my friend came in, and she surprised me, and she's just like, "What are you doing?" It was like 8 a.m. And she's like, "Let's go. I called you an Uber." And like, she called me an Uber from New Jersey to New York. and it was like traffic like from New Jersey to New York. And I was stuck in traffic for like 2 hours
Oh my God.
in the cab, and the driver was frustrated. And I was just like, why are you getting frustrated? And I'm like, oh yeah, he's driving, I'm not.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then like that was it. And like that I don't miss about New York. Like
Hmm.
there's so many people there, and it's just too much. Like it becomes a lot. All the interaction, all the unwanted interactions,
Hmm.
you know, that you have, like on the subway, you know, like on the street. Like it's a lot. People are angry and they're moving really fast. So it's kind of good to be, you know, like in a little bit of nature. I can just drive 5-10 minutes away and I'll go hiking in the woods. So like that's cool. But I see with myself, I have this like thing where like I have like extreme anxiety sometimes that I just have to like, you know, meditate and like breathe through. But being in the woods, like for some reason, that's another one that gives me absolute panic for like no fucking reason. Because I'm like, you dumbass, you know that there's a highway right there. Why are you like? They're all irrational. They're all these irrational fears. And my partner is just like rolling his eyes, laughing, just like, you're a freaking little bitch. Like, don't, like, there's literally a highway. There's civilization right there. Why are you freaking out? And I'm like, I don't know.
You can go a mile in any direction, you're going to find a Subway or a McDonald's. You know?
I'm just from New York, and like I have to like slowly take that away from myself and like be more comfortable in nature and like force myself, maybe go like I don't do camping. I haven't gone camping. I did once for a school thing, and it was for like 24 hours, and I came back home and I just scrubbed myself for like 8 hours in the bath, just like in the bath with like all of my like bath stuff and my bubbles.
You worried about ticks or something? Like, why that long?
I just felt gross.
What you need to do is you guys should visit Louisville, where I live, because it's the perfect place. It's the best place in the United States. It has all of the things you want to do in a place where you could get into trouble, like a city. But it also has the vibes where if you want to just stay in your apartment and be left alone, you know, nobody's looking for you. You don't have to deal with anyone. It's beautiful, but also hustly and bustly in certain places.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's creative, but it's in Kentucky, which is this overwhelmingly just I want to be delicate because I love my state, but there's an opposition in many parts of our state to psychedelic thinking or like anything that might disrupt the like Southern Baptist stability, you know, of like a community that is centered around family, church, you know, that model, that mode or whatever. But Louisville, Lexington, Paducah, there are oases, or is it oases? What's the plural of oasis? I don't know. I don't care. But if you go to certain places in Kentucky, you'll find that like there's a haven for artistic types, you know. Louisville is sort of like the major one. I think it's the best, in my opinion, the best city in the country. It's the best. You have to come check it out. Yeah. And if you ever make it here, let me know. I can tell you where the cool places to go are. Nice. And by cool, I mean delicious restaurants and places where you can get cheap books. I don't know much about clubs, I guess.
Well, I don't really do clubs, but I do like underground stuff. Like that I'm more into. I'm not into clubs.
I can introduce you to some sorcerers, you know, to some people who are involved in the occult as we might claim to be, you know. I don't know if I consider myself an occultist, my boy once told me that there's a difference between an occultist and a magician, and an occultist is someone who reads the books and like believes in the practice and might dabble a little bit, but a magician is someone who's really gone full committed.
Yeah,
and I think I'm more of an occultist than a magician, although I have attempted magical ritual and things like that at times, you know. I still try, but I don't know what is in my life, what's going right and what's going wrong. I don't know what to attribute to magical ritual and what to attribute to just intense thinking, possible prayer, or just
I think it's
good old-fashioned hard work.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like hard work. Like everybody believes in mantras, and I'm like, mantras don't work if you're still not working on yourself. If you're still not doing anything about your situation, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you kind of have to put in the work, and only then will change happen.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's what I realized. Like, especially, like, doing anything, really. I think we all have to learn that one way or another. It's just one day at a time, what you do with your time, how you use your time. And I think that's why a lot of us like to spend a lot of time alone, so we could work on the things that we're working on.
Yeah, absolutely. But I don't know where I find myself sometimes, because I like to be alone and I like to create stuff alone and I enjoy all my entertainment alone. Like I'm a big football fan, but I don't watch football games with my friends or anything. I watch them alone. You know, and these are all things that, like, when you think about football fans, like they have barbecues and they have people over and there's like treats and food and stuff. But like just me and my cat, I might cook, I might have a great day. But what on the other end of that, like I write this, we make this music, me and my band, and I want to perform in front of as many people as possible. And I want as many people as possible to hear our music. So I try to promote our stuff and like put myself out there on that level. And I have no problem with that. Like I have no problem in front of a lot of people, but I don't want to go to a show or leave my house and be in a crowd of a lot of people.
Yeah.
You know, like it's when I'm not worried about crowd anxiety or anything. And if we're performing, because I'm with my homies and we're on stage and like things, I know my dudes have my back and I'm surrounded by people that I actually trust. But when I'm just stepping out to go attend something, or just like maybe go to an event of some type, like a rally or even like a public place, like a mall or something, I just get overwhelmingly paranoid sometimes. Like
that's exactly how I felt when I was in the Sistine Chapel going in, when we were at the Vatican, and I was going in and I was just like, oh my God, I'm just one of the fish in a school of like people. And I I had a panic attack, and I'm like, I could do this. I could do this.
It's always good when you have to psych yourself up, you know, to go into a. I would love to go see some of those like old school medieval churches. I saw some ad on like Vice or something that was like a church where the inside of it was all like adorned with actual skulls.
Oh
like,
yeah, we were supposed to go to one of those in Rome, but like we didn't have a chance because we just had so much stuff to do and not a lot of time. But they're what are they called? They're like crypts or something by like the churches.
They're not catacombs.
They're catacombs. They are,
like,
yeah. They have catacombs, but they're like churches and chapels.
Right, where they like all the arches and all that are just covered in skulls. Yeah. That's the only church that I'm going to get married in, is one of those. If I ever decided to take that plunge, it would be surrounded in a church of skulls everywhere, you know, and not the typical stained glass weird cherubs floating around.
Really? My partner wants to go to a catacomb so bad, and I've been putting it off for so long because I'm just afraid of just going down there and like having a panic attack. No, just for being, it's not even like the skulls, it's just like being underground.
Yeah, I feel it. I get it. I get it.
Yeah, I'm a chicken with everything. Like, that's why, like, I don't push it with the psychedelics, because I'm just like, yeah, I'm already seeing things. I'm good. I'm already feeling things. I'm good.
Yeah, it's interesting that you're so brave, or that you're brave on the astral plane. That you'll.
I'm a chicken. I don't even like scary movies. Like, you don't understand. Like, and it's so funny because my partner is the exact opposite. He loves scary movies. He hates the astral plane, and I'm just like, that's scary to me. Astral space is like awesome to me. Like, I have my wires crossed somewhere.
Yeah, I'm more inclined to agree with him. I'll watch a scary movie because I know it's a movie, but yeah, the astral projecting and like lucid dreaming scared me very early on. I jumped right back out. Although, you know, I don't know. I do enjoy. I enjoy like tarot meditation. I enjoy like taking a phase of my life and looking at it through the lens of a certain tarot card. I do that a lot. You know, I don't know. I enjoy dabbling in the esoteric for sure, and the psychedelic and the astral.
It seems like,
but I do it in my own terms, I guess.
It seems like the tarot is your like thing. So, like, what do you like to do with the tarot? Like, what's your favorite practice?
I don't know. That's weird. I mean, mostly just to draw like a card a day is one good way to just stay in practice, I guess. Because that I'm big on like the morning. I love the morning time. I love when the sun's coming up. I like to channel that sort of physical imagery into the idea of losing the morning star. The day has arrived. You know, the night has been defeated. So sometimes I get up like pretty early before work, and I will like just draw a tarot card, read a Rumi poem, you know, maybe make some coffee, eat some breakfast, and just sort of like do like a freestyle meditation, I guess, of sorts. You know, walk around, get ready for your day, and think about your life through the lens of whatever card has just randomly come. I like that. It doesn't, because it's not necessarily where am I at in my life. It's more of a, how can I view my life through a lens, a prompt, you know, which is what this card is. Like, here you draw a card, and that's the prompt. Examine your life through what this card means, you know, just for like half an hour before you go to work, and just think about how you could use what that card has to offer you that day to sort of switch up your approach and maybe inject a little novelty into your day-to-day routine. But what I'm surprised, the tarot really is not my like thing. It's just like, since I've made 2 like hip hop albums based on tarot cards, I see why it would come across that way. But my friend Roman, my DJ, Dr. Dundiff is his like stage name. And we both, he's the dude I was talking about that was like astral projecting for a while as well and got really freaked out by it. We both are like products of the Western occultist world, meaning the church, you know? Yes. And so the tarot has enough of like European Western type imagery in it to appeal to like our sort of upbringing in that regard. And I think we just like, sometimes whenever we make all kinds of music together, not all of it is tarot based, or like tarot based, that sounds so stupid, but not all of it is like a tarot inspired themed album. Right. Mm-hmm. But like every once in a while we'll make something and we're like, okay, this should be like a tarot thing, and we'll start from there. But we both are just like fans of the imagery above all, because we you know, I don't know, I'm a big fan of epic poems and epic writing and epic scenery, and just all the cards that stand out to me have you know, they visually capture you, and they usually have like a very poignant meaning that really can be misinterpreted. And those are the cards that I like the most, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I find that like they have the symbolism to me. I like to meditate on, and when drawing them, it makes you understand the symbolism a lot more. You know, like the black and white imagery that you see, like that's been dreams that I've been having. You know, the duality, and just like experiencing that through dream interpretation and through tarot, and through hypnagogic visions. Like it's like deeper layers of understanding to something that you could just keep on going into more and more and more and more. And it just like, I didn't get it, and I kept on not getting it, so I kept on having the same vision or the same lucid dream over and over and over again until I finally got that like duality. It's all about duality.
Truly, yeah, truly it is.
Yeah.
That's what I like so much about Gnosticism is the classic like primal truth versus unholy masking demiurge. You know, it's so fairy tale-esque, but it's got that ultimate good versus evil, light versus darkness kind of vibe. I love the duality of things, the balance of the Tao, you know, of just everything has its opposite. You know, I love that.
Yeah. So
I like thinking about things like that every once in a while.
yeah, and it's something I didn't understand, and like thankfully through having it happen like in different types of like experiences, I figured it out. It took me like 6 months.
That seems short. I feel like it would take most people years, you know? I don't know. That doesn't seem that long.
I don't know, man. I gotta thank the psychedelics. They just opened something. I would go back, but I'm terrified to see what else it would reveal to me.
Yeah, that's sort of the way I feel about the way I was talking about the tarot earlier. Is like I don't want to read my tarot right now because I'm afraid of what I'll see, you know. And I'm not so, you know, ridiculous or arrogant that the tarot predicts your future, because some people actually believe that they can predict other people's futures, which is to me a little bit fucking crazy. I'm not trying to dismiss anybody's, but like honestly, everybody can alter their future in the blink of an eye. Like if somebody tells you what your future is going to be, you can just literally go outside, do one thing to change the entire thing. And I mean, it might be extreme. You might have to do something extreme, but you can. I mean, divination. Anyways, I don't want to go on a rant about that, but like the tarot is an introspective tool to allow you to approach your life in the respect of these cards and the way that they lay out this path for you. And it always seems to be extremely poignant because it requires it's a 50-50 participation. You know, the cards meet you halfway and you extend your mind to meet them halfway, and you sort of collaborate and see like what this thing's going to be. And usually it will mean something to you because you have the ability to make it do that. And it's always for the good because, you know, knowledge is power. But I am so intimidated by going back to it right now because I'm still grasping things that, you know, I just did like a very intense meditation on like one particular card for like a year and a half, you know, and we did it. Me and my homie, like he made all these beats. I wrote all these songs and we focused on this card for like a year and a half. And I just cannot even think about going back to that right now because I don't want to get sucked in again, you know, like I need to take a break because when you have dedicated yourself to one concept for like a year, you have to reacclimate before you can even attempt to dive back in, you know? there's like 78 of them. You know, it's like
Yeah, that's the thing.
very
There's
tempting
so
to
many.
just get lost. Yeah.
And I thought it would be so easy. I'm like, I'm going to draw a tarot deck. This is going to be so easy. No, it's not.
I always tell people tarot and the occult as a whole, or like esoteric, magic with the K, whatever you want to call it, it is very much a thing, an activity where you get what you give. What you put into it is what you'll get out of it. If you think it's retarded and like, you know, or like a parlor trick or whatever, that is what you'll get out of it. But if you think it is something that is an actual unspoken science, magical science you can apply to your life, then that is what you'll get out of it. And, you know, there's like an entire dimension, a world. My cat is insane. There's an entire world that we do not see that is willing to expose itself to us, as long as you just truthfully ask it to do that. And you don't have to, if it's like my grandma always used to say, you don't have to, if you want to find trouble, you don't have to look very hard. You know, the same thing rings true when it comes to the world of the esoteric or the psychedelic or the unseen or the things beyond the veil. Like, you can find them if you just go looking for them, you know. You don't have to try very hard, although I just hope that the people who don't do their homework before diving into these kinds of things don't get swept away by some hero, as many of them often do in the beginning, as many of us did. You know, you might meet someone who, you know, I would be careful if I could say anything to anyone attempting to get involved in any kind of esoteric lifestyle. Be careful of anyone who acts like they have some sort of knowledge that you need to study from them more to acquire. You know what I mean? Like, anytime there's someone who is telling you, I have this knowledge and you need to come with me to get it, look out. Look out.
I actually recently had an interaction like that on Instagram, and I can't believe people actually think this way. Like, to me, it seems so foreign, but I think it's because I'm a psychonaut. I first and foremost identify with magical person / psychonaut, you know, or psychonaut / magical person.
I see.
And I don't really talk about it unless it's like in my social media, like on my online, you know, personality. Like that's where I'm able to express myself. But I don't really like to tell people what to do. I just say, this is my experience and I'm just sharing this, and like, that's really it. But there was this person that friended me, and she's like this person that didn't, I'll tell you what happened. So basically she's this like guru type somewhere in South America, and she was doing these like yoga poses on the beach and like with like spiritual quotes and shit.
I just want to kill myself when I see that stuff. Like, these people that just, it's the worst.
That's why you don't see a lot of pictures of me, because like, I don't want it to be about me. I want it to be about, you know, like, it is about me, but like my mind and like my work and
I know what you're saying.
You know
I know
what
what you're saying. There are some people who they feign enlightenment as just another excuse to post, you know, a picture of themselves or whatever. Yeah, it's and, you know, more power to them in the Luciferian sense. Whatever gives them power.
No, but that wasn't the crazy part. So she messages me, right? She's just like,
yeah, if
you have any answers and you want any questions answered, let me know. And I'm like, you know, I will help guide you, this and that. I'm like, hun, I'm a lucid dreamer. I'm an astral traveler. I'm a psychonaut. I don't need your help. Like, I'm good. Like, I'm good. And she unfriended me so quick.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, very enlightened of you.
Yeah. It's always funny, like, when people come out of the gate with, like, some sort of weird social power move like that, like...
Right? Like, how dare you?
If you need to know the secrets, I have them.
But like, why would you go in somebody's DMs, yo?
Yeah, I'm so like right out the gate shitty. I would feel like if somebody came and tried to approach me like that, even though they might at their core mean well, I feel like I would respond in an equally shitty way. Like I would be like, "Oh, I was just about to tell you the same thing."
Right, like
I feel like
how would
you're
you
lost. Like I'm feeling like I have something to teach you. Maybe there's something about you. Like I just had a dream the night before I met you that I was going to meet someone who really needed my help, who thought they were enlightened, but they aren't. And then like tell them that and make them like super pissed, you know, and be like, "Oh, it's me that you need. Trust me. It's my knowledge you need."
like how dare you? Like that's how I feel. Like
How
how dare
many-
you?
Oh,
Comment in my
many, yeah.
DMs.
I would like to
With that
see,
shit.
you know, like it like shows like Survivor and Big Brother, where they put all these people together and they have to like coexist or be voted out. I would like to see like a bunch of like middle class white stepmom yogis having to live in a house together and like watch them all turn each other and get like super vicious. You know, like
That'd be great.
all of the people who, you know, like when you meet somebody and like within the first couple seconds of knowing them, they've tried that they're like spiritually superior, then it's typically a sham, you know, no matter what the mask that it's wearing, a televangelist, you know, a fake guru, a yoga instructor who's really just, you know, some, you know, psycho who's replaced booze with exercise, you know.
And like that's what I like to like tell people, like be you, be real, be bad sometimes if you want to, but like don't
Right.
pretend to be better because we all know we're not.
Well, that's a lot of the people that I look up to spiritually, like tout the Bhagavad Gita as like
Yeah.
the jam, like that's the one or whatever. But one of the great things about that particular one is when Krishna's talking to Arjuna about this battle that's going on, and like there's people from both sides claiming that they're on the right side, and they're both claiming they're going to go to heaven or whatever. And then Arjuna's like, "Well, so who's right? Like who's going to go to heaven?" And Krishna's like, "Both sides have people that will go to heaven, because both sides have people that are being the actualized true versions of themselves." And like that's what it's really all about. It's not about whether your moral compass. You know, I know some people who are extremely good people who do some slightly evil things from time to time, and vice versa. You know, every once in a while, you know, somebody who's extremely evil, but every once in a while, the clouds part and the sunshine, this ray of compassion shines through, and they do something extremely nice.
Yeah.
As long as you're the true version of yourself and you're not putting on a front or trying to act like someone you're not, you get your eternal reward in the eyes of, you know, those people. I'm not sure that I personally believe in eternity or an eternal reward. I go back and forth on it. Some days I do, and some days I think that, you know, I'm just a husk, you know, just a body, like a vessel. Either way, I'm fine with it. I'm happy on whichever side it happens to be real, or maybe it's somewhere in the middle, or maybe it's neither. I don't know.
Yeah. It was just so funny to me. Like, there are a lot of people that, like, it's so easy to project something online. It's so easy to pretend to be something you're not. It's not
Oh my God,
easy
yeah.
to be real and to be honest. And that's what I like to do, because I just, again, it just seems more, why would I want to pretend to be anything else? Like, I know I might be a stereotype.
Yeah, maybe so. I'm sure that I am. I know that many people who, you know, the second you put any type of part of yourself out there that's like into like abstract learning or like the occult or something like that, like people are going to make assumptions, you know, and that's okay, you know, because I remember always like having an adverse reaction or a knee-jerk reaction to things when I was a kid, and going back later and really being fine with them, you know, like it's just you know, our lives are just a sequence of taking leaps of faith, you know.
Yeah.
And you either get rewarded or you don't, and you learn not to go to those places again, or you learn, oh, this place was awesome, I'm going to go back to it again, you know. But you just have to keep trying to learn new things, you know.
So what was the first time that made you realize that, like, magic was real? Because I think my first time was definitely DMT. Like, that was my first experience. Well, no, I would have to say mushrooms. And then DMT for sure, where I'm like, I'm in some magical territory. When was the first time you experienced that?
I'm not sure. I don't know when the first time was, because I was raised like in a very strict, like, Christian, but it was it wasn't a Catholic church. It was like a charismatic, like, very dancey. It was like a Pentecostal church where people would get like very expressive, and you could get up and you know, you could dance and you could get crazy, and like we would have like sermons where like people would like prophesy and stuff. It was just very crazy, very crazy. And I think I saw, like, because those guys are magicians too. That's what I try to tell people all the time, is like when a Christian prays every single night for something before bed, that is a ritual. You know, when they tell themselves, okay, this is the time where I pray before bed for my mom or for my parents or for whoever, that's a ritual. And what they're doing is a form of magic, and it might work, you know, and like to them, they're going to say, God answered my prayers, you know? So I think the first evidence I had of that was probably something where I was young and involved in church, and I probably would have called it, quote unquote, God answering a prayer, you know? But I see small forms still all the time, you know, and I feel like I've always been predisposed to look for those kinds of answers, but it was just under a different lens. When I was a child, it was under the lens of like, oh, look, God answered the prayer that you've been submitting and asking. Because that's the thing, you would come to church and you would say, I have a prayer request, and your friends would be like, what is it? And you would say it in front of everybody. So then everybody would pray for, you know, your thing. And like, that is a group ritual. Like, it's called something else in, you know, Paducah, Kentucky, or Dexter, Missouri, or some Midwestern town. It's called a prayer circle. But in other parts of the country, it might be called, you know, a ritualistic magic circle or something, you know. But regardless, you surrender yourself to the fate of the universe, and you say, please do this for me, whether you think it's God or, you know, the ether that magicians tend to pull through. You know, it's the same thing. These people just don't know that, you know. Yeah, so I guess that was the first time, like, God answering prayer, quote unquote, when I was a kid would be the first time I knew magic was real. Although at the time I didn't know it was magic. I thought it was God, a dude with a beard and a dick who lived in a cloud and had a son and all this dumb shit, you know. There's no way that God is a man. There's a gray beard in Kenny Rogers, you know. It's like that was just the image I had growing up. And now I think of it as, you know, well, if you truly want to know God, he's dead. It's Jay Dilla was a beat maker. Died not too long ago. That's the true Jesus.
So tell me about your music and what you're doing with any new stuff with that.
It's terrible. You should not listen to it.
You should not listen to
anyone. Anyone watching this should not listen to it. I rap, though. I do rap. That's my music. I rap. Touch AC,
what kind
touch
of
armor
rap
class.
do you call it? Like, what kind of genre?
I would say. I mean, I came from the time of. I came up during the golden era of what is called indie rap, or like there was a time in the early 2000s, late 90s, where all of the skateboard videos were getting replaced. The soundtracks were getting replaced. Punk rock songs were getting taken out. And these like weird rap songs were being played instead. And that's the era of hip hop that I sort of came up in, was the what I called the indie rap, like the early 2000s. So that's my heavy influence. I'm not sure if the music that I make would belong there. I don't think it would. I feel it's a little bit different. It's a little bit darker, slightly more satanic.
Tell me about that part, that influence.
Well, you know, just like the humanist Lucifer, the opportunist, you know, the person that dared to challenge the I guess establishment in the cosmic sense. Like, you know, I don't in the sense of like it's a person or like a thing that has like little wings and like has like a pitchfork and like is like, you know, God just made a mistake and was like, whoops, I accidentally created Satan and now he's just running around tempting everybody. But like the energy, like the truly passionate Luciferian imagery, like the raw, the things that you have to do in the night because it's too obscene to do in the public, you know.
Like smoking weed.
Yeah, exactly. Or like the part of your consciousness that is visceral and sort of bloodthirsty and had the killer instinct, you know, all the traits that can't be made to look beautiful or glossy, like all the parts the unspoken parts of our society that we need in order to advance, you know, the ruthlessness, the cutthroat nature of death, you know, just the indiscriminate nature of death was our most recent sort of attempts to sort of study a topic. And that's the main thing that I try to do with all of our rap music is like all of my albums, each album explores like a bit of a concept, you know. And we right before death, we had done one called Live from Anatta, which Anatta is the Buddhist concept of Anatta is the Buddhist concept of a lack of a self, you know. So each song on that album was about letting go of a part of yourself that you were attached to, you know, by a part of myself that I was attached to. And then we did Death, which was an analysis of that tarot card and sort of like from the first song to the last song, sort of all of the phases that tarot card could take you through. And we don't make rap music that is necessarily accessible all the time. We do from time to time, we'll make a song that is like a club sort of banger and we'll play that at shows and shit. People really get down. And other times we make like, you know, albums that feel like you got to take notes when you're listening to it, you know, like I like to think of us as, you know, I like to think we're like the prog rock dudes of the rap world, like the fucking like stick, you know, or like, I don't know. But every, you know, I don't know. I'm just blessed to be in an age where we got a voice to make the music we want to make, you know, and like there's people that care. That's cool. It's a good age to live in where I can make a song that I don't have any ownership over and can show it to my homies. We were all, you know, we dig it, so we perform it live, and that's a good thing.
Yeah.
But rap music is the thing that set me, that really, really put me on the path where I needed to be, to sort of open my mind to concepts that I would have never experienced otherwise. And there's still a very real stigma with hip hop music, especially in the Midwest where I live, and people pushing the envelope and making abstract versions of it that's going to help in the long run. You know, people taking it seriously as a legitimate art. Every form of music is never damaged by new forms, you know, or like music is never injured as a whole by somebody trying to do something new with it. But it would be damaged if someone had an idea and decided not to try to do that. You know, does that make sense? Like, yeah, the wise man, LeBron James, once said, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So, you know, you have to, I'm never intimidated by like what rap fans will think, because all of my friends are rap fans, and like I make music for people of all walks of life. They just might not get some of the references unless they, you know, did a bunch of nerd shit like I did. But I do gotta say, hail Satan. Love him. He's my master. I do it all for you, sweet Satan.
Very nice.
Not really. I don't know. I mean,
I'm really interested in your perspective because, you know, it is different, and I like to hear other people's interpretations of things and experiences and what made them that way. You know, I talked to Rakazulu recently, and he was talking about the music festivals that he goes to in Kansas City. I'm like, wow, like the Midwest is really popping now. You guys are really like having your own thing and like starting your own things. And
yeah. And he lives in Kansas City is a lot like Louisville in the sense that, I mean, it's like 6 hours from me, but it's like his, in that section of the Midwest, that's the oasis. You know, you've got like St. Louis, Kansas City, Chicago, Louisville, Nashville. Those are key cities in the Midwest where you can find some trouble to get into, you know, in states that are otherwise very like rural and like filled with good old boys. And not there's anything wrong with that, because I grew up in a slightly country environment myself, and for a fact that the stigma about people that live in the country and like their closed-mindedness is overly exaggerated, to say the least, because some of the most psychedelic dudes I've ever encountered were just fucking farm shamans, you know, like in their own sense. They were just dudes out there living simple lives, chilling, no less enlightened, you know, especially in the age of the internet where you know, if you just Google a topic, you can find yourself a few years later an expert on it because of the, you know, rabbit hole you might go down. But anyways, Rakazulu lives in Kansas City, and that place is just like Louisville. It's an anomaly. You know, it's a nexus of creative, collaborative, dope people in an otherwise bland part of the country for the most part, you know. He's the man, though. I really fuck with that dude. I want him to finish his video game so I can play it.
yeah, he's
Trying to really push that hard.
I connect with him on so many levels. He's just definitely someone that I'm here to do some really amazing stuff with, and he's just a cool dude.
Yeah, he is a cool dude, and he's also he has a way with words. You know, he knows how to you know, articulate his message without alienating anyone. You know, which is important, and I think we can all, you know.
I mean, here's the thing. Like that's why that's why I'm not doing as many YouTube videos as I used to, because it's just you get so much information, and to be able to be as clear as possible, you know, and be able to articulate that to people, it's just so hard when you're still processing that information. And for me, it takes a lot of time before I can actually talk about something. You know, like there are videos that I've been meaning to do, you know, and it's just like the more I wait, the more I learn. You know, just meditating on that, just thinking about that concept alone, you just learn so much more. So it's just like, I have to do like updated videos, because the thing you think you know before, you know, 2 years down the line, you learn so much more about.
Yeah. And that's the risk. That's the risk of ever saying you know anything. One of my favorite writers once said, "Those who know don't speak, and those who speak don't know," because you always run the risk of having to go back and revise something you said. But that's what rules about, you know, knowledge, is that we all, if we all are on the same team, which we are, we have to all be willing to admit that we were wrong, or that we weren't completely informed when we made a past decision, you know? And I did what I thought was right in the moment based on the info I had, but I was wrong. You know, it's okay to say that what you had thought you knew, you didn't actually know, you know?
Yeah, well, those concepts now, like I'm beginning to learn so much more about, and it's just like so many deeper layers of lucid dreaming, of astral projection, you know, like of being woke in those, like lucid in those spaces. There are so many things that you can just like fine tune, and that's one thing that I've realized. The control that you can attain, it takes time first off, and it takes ritual. You know, it does take a lot of ritual, and for me, that's something that I've been practicing. That's why I've been silent as well. You know, like you do artwork, you expand, you start doing things that, you know, like you start expressing what you've learned in art and beauty. And that's another reason why I've been away for a while. But I did want to talk about astral projection in particular. I did want to do a video about that because it's something that, like, it's literally changing my mind. You know, like it's changing how I think, how I interact, how I feel, how I can get over certain fears and phobias, which I have a lot of. I'm so, you know, panicky and anxiety ridden, you know, because of these experiences that it's slowly, in my lucid state, I've been able to overcome some of those anxieties. So yeah, there's a lot of control. I still don't have the full amount of control that one can have. I think that would be awesome if you could just like upload your Instagram pictures onto the internet. Like, I do think that's where we're headed as a species, to be able to become more psychic and to be using the internet on our mind. Like, I've been surfing the web. I've been surfing Google and like surfing websites in my lucid space. You know what I mean? I just listened to a Terrence McKenna lecture where he talks about, once accessed that state within DMT, you can have a dream about doing DMT and then have that DMT experience. And I've actually, it's funny that he says that, like that the newer generation of psychonauts will be able to do that. And he said this in the 90s. And now it seems so true, because you don't know how many dreams I've had where I'm sitting down with a bowl of DMT because I'm too chicken shit to do it in my everyday reality.
Well, the next time you find yourself in your dream state wondering if you should smoke it, just fucking hit it.
No, I do it. I do it all the time.
Even if it's crack. Even if it's crack cocaine.
I've done heroin in my dreams, which
I thought you were going to say you've done crack in real life.
I have
which
not.
is fine if you have.
But I haven't. But I've done heroin in my dreams. I've done LSD in my... I've done 10 hits of acid in my dreams. I've done mushrooms, I've done ayahuasca, I've done DMT, like I've done cocaine, I've overdosed on MDMA.
Your dream self sounds pretty
awesome.
ridiculously awesome. A true party animal.
It is. I am partying all the time. And I don't know why. I'm like, is it because I don't do this in regular life? Like, and I just want to be crazy and do this crazy stuff? But, like, I am having dreams where, like, I'm, like, waking into, consciousness. Like, I'm awake. Once, like, I OD on, like, a shit ton of Molly. Like, it's, like, a whole bunch of ecstasy. And I just take it to the face. I'm like, why am I doing this? And they're like, I'm just taking all of it. And I just
relentless.
Die. Yeah, I die, and then I wake up, and I'm like, oh, that was a dream.
Thank God. Jesus.
Yeah, I don't understand. I would never do that in real life. Like, that's so not me. But
yeah.
It's so funny that I'm so reckless.
The gloves are off, you know, when you no longer have a physical body, you know. Yeah. The gloves are off when you're an incorporeal being. I would hope, anyway.
And, like, I've been doing, like, DMT in my dreams and acid at the same time and, like, doing those combinations. and then all of a sudden there's like I'm being chased by like freaking authorities, and I'm like high as hell. And like I have crazy dreams, and it's so funny, and like it's so interesting that we're being able to experience and like have the ayahuasca experience or have the acid experience, or the DMT experience in dreams. You know, like that's been happening to me more and more and more. I've learned how to die. Like I had an experience where I was taking ayahuasca to learn how to die. And
To learn how to die.
Just like
I love that.
okay.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah. Be okay with death, and to just be okay with it, and to love it, and to, you know, think of it as a natural process, and to be able to like just ride that wave of like in between death and, you know, not death, alive, and just learning to die and like in stages until you completely disappear. And like that seems to be a major thing with my dreams, death. My fear of death.
God.
And overcoming that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me know if you learn the secret, you know. I don't know any way besides confronting it head on.
Yes.
That's all I know. I only know to think about it in the sense of the tarot version, where it's like the catalyst of change as opposed to an actual physical death. And I just hope that I have done well in devoting myself to it, and that it will just somehow ease me into the next phase, but I doubt it. I'm sure that I'll suffer a slow, gruesome one.
How old are you?
32.
Okay, so you're 32, I'm 31. Isn't it so funny? We're in our 30s, and we're just constantly ruminating death and being acquainted with death. But there are like 70, 80-year-olds.
I know.
That don't even think that they're going to die.
Yeah. It's funny to think about it like that. That is funny. To have that sort of, to have that bliss, what I wouldn't give. But here we are, you know. There's no, that's the thing about jumping in, is once you jump in, you can't get out. You know, it's weird, but we're doing the best with what we have.
I think it's a sense of like just like deeper maturity. I find like it's just something I know that we're going to have to face head on, like you say. But I'm so terrified. I have to start early. Or I have to start, like, you know, as soon as possible. Because just, like, going that, again, blissfully ignorant is just, like, beyond. Like, how do you not think of that every day? That's our own mini apocalypse, you know? Like, that's...
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. And, I mean... To many, it is an actual mini apocalypse. Like, legitimately, every single day they go through it in their minds. Like it is the end every single day. It's fun to think about.
Yeah, I've slowly become more understanding and chill. But it used to bother me. Like it used to bother me a lot. But that's when meditating in water really helped. With some crystals, had a nice little rose bath with essential oils, and get some binaural beats on, get your crystals everywhere, and like meditate in your bath.
That sounds lovely. That sounds really, really nice. I have never done anything like that, but I could really see myself letting go in like a solid floral oil bath and just embracing that vibe. I really could see myself doing that.
Do that. It's amazing.
I think I'm going to have to scrub my tub before I do that. Because I only shower. I mean, it's not like particularly filthy or anything, but before I take a bath in it, I want to scrub it out. Because I just stand in it usually.
Yeah, what I would do is put some lavender essential oil in there, maybe some herbs, take an herb bath, It's great. Like, I do that all the time. I do it at least once a week, and it's great for meditation. I can have full-on hypnagogic visions. If you're going to meditate in bath, I would not put a lot of water, or I would just like make sure it's like shallow enough where you don't die.
Right.
If you're
Yeah.
gonna
Yeah.
go in those really deep places, which you can, and it can take you. Water is a great element to work with, especially with
Yeah.
meditation. So it can lead you into death and like meditating on death, which I've done before with the Santa Muerte candle, and just like lay in there and like you get to that death point and like all of this information, you know, about yourself or about your fears or, you know, about death in general come. Like, it's a great thing to do. Put some flower petals in there.
Absolutely. La madrina de Santa Muerte. En la muerte, todos somos iguales.
Yeah, it's great. I do it all the time.
Absolutely.
I think that's why like things like that can like it could just like make your meditations that much more decadent. I like to have like a little glass of wine as well, you know, just like
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Anything that gives it that hedonistic spark, and that's sort of the debauchery element of like the sadistic nature of Luciferian philosophy is what I really dig. You know, like the sort of enlightened. How can we maximize our time here as humans? How can we push our potential? How can we truly be the conquerors of this dimension? You know, it's a warlike philosophy in many ways, but it has something romantic about it. You know, I don't know. And maybe I'm just saying that because I'm a Saxon and that's what we've done for however long. I don't know. Maybe it's something rooted in my DNA. Or maybe it's that I play World of Warcraft too much and it's entirely war-based. And now I'm thinking in a warlike mentality.
But yeah, I like to do stuff like that, like make your own sanctuary of like beautiful things.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. That's a beautiful thing. I think freestyle, like improvisational, quote unquote chaos magic in this time in our world, in this completely fast-paced society that we're in, like it's more legitimate now than ever. You know, not having the time to carry out intense ritualistic process magic, but rather doing like world magic, or like, for instance, maybe writing down a prayer request on a leaf, throw it out a window. That itself is a ritual. You know, some improv your own way of doing things. You know, we live in a world where everything is becoming instant gratification. So, you know, the sage and like the wizard, they stay ahead of everything. So to them, it might be a situation where, okay, I'm walking, I need this now. I'll say it to this brick that's part of this building. I'll pick up this leaf, I'll write it on there, I'll crumple it up and throw it. You know, like all of these transformational things. Like anytime there's an alchemy or a change of form, you know, there's magic there. You know, I sound like an idiot right now. I'm sorry, but it in my mind it makes sense. I promise.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's why I love bath so much. It's the most romantic ritual you can do. It's just like so pretty, and then you have candles everywhere. It's like a little fairy tale, and I just love it.
that is really precious. I do love that. That's really nice.
Oh my god, I get creative. Like I just like in my worlds, like I used to want to be like a princess and draw princesses, but then like I popped out of that, and now it's more of like just a very natural goddess feel, and like you can like put intent in your water. You could put Ormus in your water.
Man, yeah, that is awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
That is so cool.
There's so many elements you can work with. Like that's what one of my friends that is like a magician in my eyes, like he's taught me, is to live life through the elements. And yeah, that's really transformed my life, really. Yeah.
I know a few people like that, you know, who I would consider to be actual magicians. It's always great to spend time around them.
Oh, they're crazy and they're amazing and they're just brilliant and psychotic.
Yeah, true forces of nature. True, like, completely wild, feral people.
Yeah, and it's it's
I
so
could go on for
inspiring.
hours about those people. I can't even get started on it.
Yeah, it's so inspiring. That's why I love them so much. Every single conversation is truly inspiring and like makes you learn more about yourself. And even they've been getting into crystals and they're like, I thought this was all horseshit. But there's something to it, you know, and using crystals with dreams as well. I've done that. That works. I like to use crystals. I like to use sage before dream catchers.
Yeah, I like sage. I like thyme.
Rosemary is really good for dreams too.
Excellent. Yeah, I'm big on the herbs, that's for sure. I enjoy making bundles and drying them out and hanging them sort of in my apartments.
I do that too.
It's a good thing to do. I have access to them for super cheap. I work in the floral industry in my day job, so
oh really?
Very, very easy to get herbs for me.
Cool. Do you sell them?
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, do you have them like your own store or something, or you just do it for yourself and your friends?
No, I don't have my own store. I just work at I work basically for a broker that brings tons of them in and sells them to like local florists and wholesalers and things like that. It's pretty soulless, pretty heartless at its core because the flowers are viewed as a product and not as a life. So, chopped and thrown away and groomed and treated as, you know, monetary objects or like means by which to make a profit, as opposed to, you know, the beautiful individual things that they are. But that's just my hippie nature coming out. You know, the train has to keep rolling, the flowers have to get to where they're going. So I'm part of that process. It's a sadistic industry. I'm telling you, if you ever get into the commercial floral industry, it is, it's dark.
Really?
I've said this both to Rocket Zulu and to our mutual friend Skanky Mojo on both of their podcasts. Told them, listen, bros, the floral industry is a dark, dark place.
Oh my goodness.
It's yeah, I like it though, because of the type of person that I am. I'm sort of drawn to that ruthlessness, but it's strange.
How is it
for
dark?
such a beautiful product, you know?
How is it dark? They just chop them down, breed them,
mass produced with steroids in order to produce the biggest blooms possible, quickest, and then, you know, stuffed into a box, essentially a cardboard coffin, shut down, shipped across continents to their new home, where they're opened up again, cut again, shoved into a tank of ice water. You know, just imagine going through the states of shock that all these plants are going through every stop of the way, where they're getting cut, dunked in freezing ice water, prepackaged again, wrapped in saran wrap, loaded in a tank, thrown with ice, shipped across the country, opened again, chopped, shoved in ice water. You know, it's all very traumatizing. I wrote a paper about it one time in college, because I started working there like 6 years ago. And,
I feel bad just when I pick a flower.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that, you know. That's okay. There's so many of them. That's much better than what's, you know, we're picking, you know, not us personally, but people in the floral industry are picking thousands of them a day for the purpose of just exploitation. And then
isn't the whole world exploitation these days? Like, doesn't it make you sick?
It makes me sick in a certain sense, and then it also
empowers you.
It makes me feel like I just need to get on their level, because the ones who fall behind, no matter how righteous their cause, will be left behind. You know, sad, but I don't know what to do. You know, I don't know. I'm torn every day between just joining the other side or being obliterated by the the whetstone of time.
I think that's why I'm so terrified of being a clickbait queen. Like I should be that. Like that should be something to aspire to. But I'm always self-righteous, and I'm like, no, everything's good. But no matter what it is, people will always think that because they don't have your experience. So it's so easy for somebody to say, oh, well, you're just freaking like lying, or this is clickbait, because they haven't had that experience. So they obviously think I'm lying.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, that's the challenge, I guess. What do you do?
I mean, but like I should aspire to be like those are the deeper, realizations I have in like those meditative baths. It was like how my own self judgment is stopping me.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I feel like most of the time with me, it's usually rooted in a place of like, I just need to be braver, like
yes.
I'm judging myself before I even take a leap. And if I were braver, I would just do the thing and be confident, do it, and not worry about how it would be perceived or how my versions of my past self would look at it and be like, okay, this isn't you because it's different from what we were,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I always cringe. Like I never
Yeah,
watch anything.
I know what you mean.
I
know what you mean.
cringe.
I'm a constant cringer, that's for sure.
People are like, cringy video. I'm like, I know.
How about cringy 31 years of your life? How about that? That's me. 32 years of pure cringe.
32 years of being cringe. That's how I feel. Like, I'm always cringing, so I get it. Like, when people comment that, I'm like, I get it. Totally get it. I understand.
Yeah, absolutely. I just realized it's 6:17. I have to be at band practice in 12 minutes. So I probably should, 13 minutes, so I probably should go.
That was amazing. Where can everybody find you?
God. I don't really know where I can be found. If you close your eyes and just think about the dopest possible rap music you could possibly hear, maybe they'll come to you in that fashion. And if it doesn't happen quick enough, you could find me at toucharmorclass.bandcamp.com or at Twitter, just Touch Armor Class. Yeah.
All right.
I don't know. Those are the places where you can listen to my music if you want to. I would not advise it.
Okay, great. Awesome. Thank you. That was...
No, thank you for having me on. I've been a fan of yours from afar for a while. And also just like, like watching you on the internet or listening to you with the homies.
Yeah, well, I feel like, I know you already, and I don't really, because you're friends with my friends.
Right? Yeah, we should do this again. I'm very stoked to have to make new homies. So I feel the same way. Like I know of you, I've listened to you, but I've never really talked to you yet.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, so I'll let you go. It was great talking to you, and
yeah, this was a lot of fun.
I hope to do this again, like I do with Rocky Zulu and with Skanky Mojo. I like to connect once every month or whenever they're
yeah, I would like that too. We've done stuff, the three of us. We should do stuff, the four of us. That would be cool.
That would be really cool.
It's been a while since I've talked to those guys, and I need to do that.
Yeah.
But
yeah, thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Yeah.
I just want to say, hail Satan and go Steelers.
All right,
I'll see you later.
Bye.